Welcome back to the Corridor of Uncertainty, where we talk about maths and sport. What are we going to talk about today, Jess?
Well, Rich, loyal Corridor of Uncertainty viewers will recall one of our early special episodes where we talked about the sports statistic of the year.
Yep.
Partially inspired and not at all stolen from the Royal Statistical Society's annual competition.
Mm-hmm.
And so in that episode, we put forward our suggestions for the sports statistic of the year. And then actually what we did was then enter them, put them forward for this Royal Statistical Society competition. And the results have just been announced. So I thought, Rich doesn't know what the winner is. So I thought we could reveal them to you today and discuss whether we think that the judges, I had no part in this, whether the judges made the right choice.
So I'm going to assume it's not going to be the Litch switch, Phoebe Litchfield's
Keep watching to
switch-handed
find
hitting
out.
percentage. That was a bit too niche, but we'll see.
Okay. So, like I say, the idea is it's celebrating, the year of 2025, trying to encapsulate that in a statistic, like a time capsule.
Yeah.
Okay, so actually it's quite good to think about this in March, April, because we've had a bit of space. So we'll see if these stats really reflect the year.
So it's not just going to be a December event.
There's some space now with it. Okay, you ready then?
Mm-hmm.
So the format usually is they have some highly commended ones and then an overall winner. So I thought we'd build the tension and start with the highly commended. Are you ready?
Sounds good.
So the first one then, lionesses break records on screen.
Yeah.
So the stat is 16.2 million, and it's the peak TV audience that watched the lionesses win the Euros final.
Yeah, it was a good game. I kind of expected a stat like this, given we saw what last year's was. They like to have a stat about engagement with a sport.
Yes.
So I thought they would go for something where it's like, here's how many people enjoyed this thing.
Yeah, and the quote from, so there's like a news article that announces these winners, and the quote from there is, beyond the drama on the pitch, the number represents a cultural shift. Women's football is no longer on the rise. It has arrived. Mm-hmm. So, like you say, I think that's what that one's about.
Yeah, it was definitely drama on the pitch. It was rather tense. But
like I say, I wasn't part of the judging panel, but I did deliberately because I wanted to enter. I thought that would be a conflict of interest. But I did.
Did you submit this one?
Well, this may have been one of... actually, I submitted loads in this category. Because like I say, I thought that they might like one like this.
Yeah.
But so what I did was I collated all the entries. So we had some ideas and people from the Royal Statistical Society submitted ideas too. So I got to see what they were. And I might have gone with the red roses. If you're going to do one that's about engagement and visibility, I might have.
Because that was about. That was because remember you're saying that like they scheduled it in a way to design to allow people to engage with it. They did. It was only on the weekends. It wasn't like a weekday or anything. So they really tried to make it so people could attend, and they thought about where to put it and stuff. So yeah, I think that was a good one that showed the thought that goes into this. This is just that women's football is great.
But I think the point is, and this is why I remember when I was putting forward, like I say, I sort of cheated a bit because I had loads of stats in this area, some of them from the Red Roses. Yeah. But I think in my sort of deliberations, I decided on this one because it made it the most watched event of 2025.
Yeah,
so I think that in that way, though the Red Roses, that's England women's rugby, broke all sorts of records with that World Cup on home soil, lots and lots of records. I think the fact that it was the most watched event does put it in the conversation for the stat of the year, doesn't it, really?
Yeah.
If we're thinking about that.
I think that the Women's World Cup, in an odd year as well, when like there's no Men's World Cup, there's no Olympics, there's no kind of other events like that, the Women's Euros is going to get a good audience, but the Women's World Cup, maybe the first year it broke through, so it's good.
Yeah. Like I say, maybe looking back, we will go, they didn't put the Women's World Cup in. That was the year that changed everything.
Yeah.
We shall see. Right, you ready for the next one?
Yeah.
On to cricket. So you'll be happy. It's not the Litch switch. This has come in from an RSS member. And it's not a positive stat, really.
Yeah.
So the number is 67.3.
Yeah.
And that is, we're in the Ashes test now. towards the end of the year. So the defeat of the England men, sealed after just 67.3 overs, survived, marks the shortest first-class resistance in a test loss since 1904.
Yeah, it wasn't great. That must be quite late on in the year, but anyway.
It was, yeah.
Yeah. So it did, because that was after we did our episode, I think.
It was, and that's what made me, like I say, having some distance. I wonder if the judging panel kind of were influenced by recent
notable.
events.
I think, I did have a bit of Schadenfreude about this because I'm not a baseball person.
Yeah.
And you hear a lot about how baseball cannot fail, it can only be failed, and it's this wonderful anything that claims to reinvent a sport is always a little polarizing, and baseball claimed this radical reinvention, and they didn't baz hard enough in that game.
Do you want to explain to the people who don't watch cricket? I mean,
so baseball is just you try to hit a lot basically, and you keep it really cheerful.
This is a controversial approach to cricket.
In a test cricket game, it's 5 days, it's slow.
Yeah.
You maybe want to build into an innings, and this is more about just let's get runs on the board, smash it to the boundary as much as possible, and enjoy yourself. And that's kind of like it's worked really well at times, and it's created some really exciting cricket and a lot of success. But it's starting to a bit, it's not infallible. Like all, waves in sporting trends. It Barcelona's years ago, tippy-tappy, whatever you call it.
Tiki-taka.
Tiki-taka, yes, yeah. But
tippy-tappy.
This became very polarizing. This became very polarizing, and Moneyball, like our most recent episode, is the sort of, when it becomes small ball in baseball or small ball basketball, becomes something people get annoyed about. Basketball is kind of the opposite, because it's about playing exciting sports, but does become polarizing.
And that's what, again, the quote from the news article announcing the winners is this idea that it's reignited the debate about batting technique in modern test cricket. So like you say, it's picking up on, like they're saying, a theme of the time, which is this the right approach to cricket? So I can see why they picked that one. Okay. You want to move on?
Yep.
Okay, so there's only...
Just like the England cricket team, I want to move on.
Let's move swiftly on. There's only 3 honourable mentions, so this is the last one before the winner. And we're in tennis.
Right.
Always
popular in the UK.
This one. This is a cool one, right? So when they came in, I thought I had the winner. It's over. Right. And this one came in and I thought, this one might do it because it's unbelievable. So the number is 1651.
Right.
And let me just...
I'm going to tell you... tennis?
1651. Right, I'm gonna tell you a little story. So it's about the rivalry between Sinner and Alcaraz.
Right, yeah.
And, there's been some really amazing tennis matches between the two, but I would argue none of them quite as exciting as this statistic. Right? I'm really building this one up.
The statistic.
So, the tennis calendar, you've got your Grand Slams, and then at the end of the year, they have this ATP finals thing. And so that's the sort of end of the the end of the year. So again, you can see why this is the Sports Start of 2025, because
it's right at the end of the year.
It's right at the end of the year. It was maybe like November. After that, they face each other in the final of that. So again, building on the rivalry. And at that point, after the game, the actual points that they'd won in matches was exactly the same. 1-6-5-1 each.
Yeah.
So that shows how evenly balanced they are, which, like I said, does encapsulate that kind of rivalry, that it is close. It's not, it's a point here or there that wins it. It's not kind of, straight set. Well, it could be straight sets, but it's not, 6-0 or whatever. It's very, very close. So I loved this one.
Yeah, that is quite remarkable. It's a bit, though, it's one of those statistical coincidences in some ways, rather than it's more just like, it's not a fact that maybe it does describe it a little, because it's saying how equal they are.
Yeah.
But, it's the sort of thing that could happen at any point. It's interesting that it meets exactly, when they meet, but I'm not in love with this one, because it's not kind of a,
I know what you mean.
Statistical oddity as opposed to a descriptive
I think the word that they used was numerical snapshot, and I think that is good. But it was the fact that it's like at the end of the year in the finals, and they faced each other, and it's been so close, and then
so close that it's equal.
Yeah. But I take your point. It is kind of, it does encapsulate it, but it's also a bit of a fluke that it would be that. Yeah. So
I'm sure tennis
agree.
fans are happy that, after the sort of decline of Federer and Nadal and Djokovic taking over, but now they've kind of faded a little bit. Now you've got a new rivalry that's going to characterise the sport for a long time.
Yeah, and again, if we think of the time capsule, them sort of coming to the fore would be the 2025 kind of fact and the fact of the balance. So well done, judges. Good one, but it's not the winner.
Yeah. So
do you know what the winner is?
I'm guessing it has something to do with the photo that we have up, is it?
It's over. It is the 4 minutes and 52 seconds.
Of course it is.
Yeah. So just in case people didn't watch that episode, 4 minutes and 52 seconds is the total amount of time that the Lionesses led across the entire knockout stage of Euro 2025, which of course they went on to win. And all of that was after the late goal, Claire Kelly goal against Italy.
Yeah.
I think that's celebrating it.
That's the penalty, I think, is it? Or maybe?
But, so all in one match. And like we say, I think, like going back to what we said before, I think we saw at the start, that's the most watched moment of 2025. But that number really does encapsulate that tournament, this idea that it was a roller coaster, that they were hanging in there. And again, the quote from the RSS news article is, it's a number that captures both the squad's knack for late drama and the knife-edge nature of tournament football, where resilience often matters more than dominance.
Yeah.
In tournament football, this is true. And it was like they had the belief, didn't they, that they were going to win it and just never give up.
I think I said in the previous video, that like if other teams aren't talking to Serena Williams about how she builds the team spirit and the resilience, then they're doing something wrong because, she clearly knows what she's doing in this regard. I am going to write a protest, though, about Notts County not getting the 2023 Sports Statistic of the Year because they were only ahead for about 30 seconds in their playoff.
Well, none of the ones
the National League.
None of the ones I submitted for Oldham have made the honourable mentions list. But no, it's really good. Like I say, I wish that we could share all the stats that people have submitted because they were brilliant. And it's a nice activity. And I think we should be thinking about it all the way through the year. So we already need to be thinking Winter Olympics, what's the stat there? All sorts of things that have happened.
Yeah,
already.
so I've got my eye on Tadej Pogacar already this year. Has just won an incredible Milan-San Remo. So I wonder if his performance will finally get him kind of statistically recognised by the RSS. We will see.
I'm going to look at all those things. It's the Royal Statistical Society, so it is a British institution.
Yes, yeah.
Like we said with that very first stat, we felt like that might be something that they would go for. But I wonder if they do need to consider having an international category. Like Sports Personality of the Year does have an international. Because actually these are quite England focused.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got Alcaraz in there.
Yeah.
But
it's maybe the lack of kind of individual sports performances that are as a standout. There's Keely Hodgkinson, probably the most standout British single sport performer. Luke Little is pretty good, but unfortunately that's not a sport. So.
But I think there's going to be quite a few from the Winter Olympics, some cool stats from that. So
and we've got the World Cup this year. So
yes.
Yeah, we'll see.
Let's get thinking.
Okay, and we'll see you later.